So here we are again with our Hyundai not so silent generator, and we've got the electrical side open. So why have we got this open? Well, the other day we were running it and it stopped. Well, the engine didn't stop, but the generation stopped. And we see down in here, this little doofer here wasn't connected. So I'll come back down, we'll come up onto here, and we'll show you some stuff. Right, so what was that little doofer? That was the power coming out of the circuit breaker. So there we are, that was what was on the end of the wire. And try and hold this very still, and if we have a look here, it's not much thicker than the aluminium foil used in the kitchen. Just as a side. Now there's 23 amps maximum going through that, and that circuit breaker can handle 24.4 it's got written on it. So perhaps it should have something more like this on the end of the wire. Something a bit more solid. Because there's a 30 amp fuse, and look at the guts in that. Right? So what actually happened is this thing's tripped because my wife had the heater on full and then put the microwave on, and on this occasion there was just too much grunt, and instead of the circuit breaker tripping, we've got a fuse. Well, that's what it acted as, and it burned out. Not good. So what I'm going to do is replace it with this more substantial terminal. Got a wee box of them. But we better come down and have another look at what's going on down here. So I'll just slowly come down so I don't pull your eyes out of your head. And I'll use my little pointer. So here's the circuit breaker. Specifies on the side of it, around the other side, 24.4 amp. Which is about right, because 23 amp is about the maximum that this should be shunting through, normally running about 21 amp. Now, this circuit breaker though, unlike normal circuit breakers where the power, the leads would be going inside and you would have a sort of a screw arrangement like what you've got over here, this top terminal and that top terminal are hot and wide, and if you reached up around there or whatever while this was running, this line here's got 240 volts running through it to here. And then goes through the circuit breaker to here, and then to the plugs, the sockets. So these are live. You can touch those and die very quickly. This side, of course, if it was the one that broke, that would be while you're trying to figure out what the matter is with your generator, or else just it happens to be vibrating around and touches something metal here. Well, there isn't anything there's no circuit breaker to go anymore. It's going down the earth. Yeah, everything that the earth is touching now, it's got 240 volts going through it. And the panel's got 240 volts going through it. And everything in the world, or your pipe work in the house, if it's hooked up to this earth as well, it's got 240 volts going through it. Everything has. Not a good idea. So, I'm going to have to replace both these to start with. Because, you know, this one blew. There's no reason why tomorrow that one won't be the one that's off. And it's alive. The generator's still going. As long as you've got diesel in it, it's going to keep running. And you're busy fiddling around trying to figure out why it doesn't go. Right. So this circuit breaker, 24 amp. Cool. And does it go to here? The big socket on the front, which is rated at 32 amps? Well, no. It firstly goes down under here to the first 15 amp socket, just what you got in your house, and would normally maximum run out of at 10 amp. And then it loops around to the second one. So these, both 15 amp plugs max, could be drawing 20 amps before anything goes wrong. And then it goes to here. This is the big socket on the front, which is rated at 32 amps. So you might want to run your welder off it, or me run my heater off it, and so on. Hello. But now just have a look. Right, this goes down through this big hole here. This is our 230 volt lead. Maximum coming through here is 23 amps, or else if you short it out, all sorts of anything more. And what's this little piddly thing on the end? So again, it's not so much what's running down through it that's got the screws hitting. It's that little neck between where the screws, two screws in this socket, and so just that thin little neck there is all that is running into here. So that burns out, the circuit breaker doesn't trip, then you've got this wire floating around in here to touch anything. 200 volts in it, and you're busy wondering why this socket won't run, or the others still are, of course. The others still getting power out of that. You might not even notice because you're not using this, and it's floating around, but it's likely to. You've been running a little welder or something with a high drain. It's heated up in here, but it hasn't flicked the circuit breaker off. It's broken in here. You're sort of busy with all your gear on, trying to figure out why your power's not running, during which time this generator sort of vibrates a bit, jumps around the room if you don't tie it down. It could go to anywhere, that wire could touch the engine. I wonder what that would do. Yeah, it's the sort of thing that should not have even got past the electricians even in China, but it did. What there should be here is two circuit breakers, one for 24.4 amps and one for 15, and the two 15 amp sockets should be off there with probably the wire that's going to it now, and this 32 amp socket capable of safely handling 20 plus amps should be running off a circuit breaker, not the style with the exposed screws. They should be screwing into a proper house within the body of it, so there's no way you can fiddle around in here, and there's no way that some kid could fiddle around in here. My boy could open the door here and wonder what's inside while it's running. You don't know what boys will do. They'll have a go at anything. I think most of you, half of you will be boys, and most of you probably had a fiddle around in something at some stage. This is deadly dangerous. Deadly dangerous. If you can stick your finger on it, you're gonna die. So the circuit breakers, which you can get in China for about $3 or $7 or something, there should be two separate circuit breakers here. So there we are. So I will be fixing this today to get it to run, because I could do with some power. But I will be organising two new circuit breakers, one 15 amp, one 24 or something around that size, and having to make another hole in the face of this and fix it all up. But anyway, we'll make one big hole and put them on a separate little board fitted in here properly. That's how it should be done. So if you're running this sort of generator, make sure that these two sort of domestic size sockets, just what we use in New Zealand, that most people will be running this with a few other things on it. So run it through a power board with a 15 or 10 amp trip on it. At least the minimum you could do is that. So, you know, just a normal power board you buy for $15 or less. At least. Now, I'm not an electrician, but and they would say fix this or don't even run it. This is dangerous. But if you are going to run it, because there'll be many of these around the country, make sure that those two sockets, that one there and that one there, that just normal domestic stuff, you'll be running extension light on, you know, electric drill, whatever. Make sure you're running those through some sort of circuit breaker that will trip it at something like 10 to 15 amps. Otherwise, you're dangerous country here. Thank you very much. Bye.